Often described as Der Eisendrache 2.0 and one of the greatest maps of all time, was this the return of Cod Zombies to its former glory?
I know who you are and why you are here.
Let's burn this mother down.
Heralded by many as the peak of Black Ops 6 Zombies content and exactly what the franchise needed to revitalise its often frustrated community, it really does beg the question, is Citadelle Des Morts honestly as good as many believe? The quality of Citadelle Des Morts is clear for all to see as soon as players jump into a game. Upon spawning in, fans are met with a huge intimidating looking statue which really sets the tone for the experience they're about to be part of. The atmosphere of Citadel hits a great tone almost immediately. It's honestly as if everyone knows they're about to take on a truly great zombies experience before they've even left the spawn room. The incredible vibe only gets better as the map exploration continues, blowing their way into the castle before exploring the grim underground areas. A disgusting dungeon, cryptic undercroft and genuinely frightening pack-a-punch opening all serve to add to the grim environment players find themselves in. For a game mode that in the modern day occasionally struggles to differentiate its experiences from one another, Citadelle Des Morts doesn't fall into that trap. It feels unique compared to other Black Ops 6 maps, and although not necessarily entirely original with the Der Eisendrache comparisons being obvious, there's no doubt that it stands on its own 2 feet when it comes to atmosphere, with the more recent iterations of Zombies often focusing on lab or facility based settings. The quality of Citadel is only improved by the deep story of the map and how it connects to every aspect of the experience. The lore of the previous inhabitants is magically intertwined with all of the gameplay aspects that we'll get to very shortly, which all serve to make fans feel like they're wrapped up in something mystical and mysterious. It takes players back to a time when many believed that Cod Zombies was truly at its peak, and a map's atmosphere felt like it was carefully woven throughout the entire area the players found themselves in. The incredible lore and atmosphere doesn't end with the play space that fans jump into either. It actually takes on a new level of depth when undergoing the task of crafting Citadel's 4 elemental swords. To any OG zombie players, the parallels with Der Eisendrache are once again very clear, except instead of unique bows for every player in the game, this time fans have got the chance to get hold of blades to assist them in wiping out the undead horde. Unfortunately, just like DE, the legends of this phenomenal looking castle are tied very closely to each individual sword. After acquiring a base weapon, each has its own specific upgrade process with different steps from all the others, making them feel special, rewarding and well worth attaining. And once learnt, the steps for these weapons aren't ridiculously challenging either, making the journey of obtaining your favourite not particularly frustrating like certain previous Cod Zombies wonder weapons. This balance also extends further for each sword's incantation, but that's something we'll touch on a little bit later. The beauty of these incredible weapons is not only that they're extremely strong without being overpowered, but goes much further with them telling specific lore details around the bastard sons as players take on the task of revealing all the secrets they have to offer. As detailed, they also have the added bonus of not being so strong that they make all other weapons useless. They can be hugely powerful in the hands of players skilled enough to build up their unique charge attacks, but this takes time and effort and are only gained through melee eliminations, creating the perfect risk-reward scenario. They feel very well balanced, fairly obtainable, and honestly look absolutely beautiful. They also form a very large portion of the map's main quest, which could sometimes be considered a negative, but on Citadelle Des Morts, not so much. Sometimes a zombie's Easter egg can honestly feel like a bit of a chore, but with Citadel it's really not the case. The steps are logical, they follow the lore and narrative of the map, and are appropriately challenging in certain situations. As mentioned, one of the major steps of the quest is to craft and upgrade all 4 elemental swords, which may seem like a lot, but with each process being unique and not hugely difficult, it doesn't feel like a massive effort. In certain previous Easter eggs like Der Eisendrache, the need to craft various wonder weapons is balanced in line with the number of players in the game to make sure that the task doesn't feel too daunting. That's not the case in Citadel, which could initially feel like a major misstep, but it's actually perfectly balanced by the fact that these blades and their incantations are not overly challenging to get hold of, yet still feel rewarding rewarding when you're able to learn and optimize your playthrough in order to get hold of everything you need very early on. This initial phase of the Easter egg has you feeling like you're making serious progress without overwhelming the player, as it's not the only steps that are required. The Citadelle Des Morts quest continues on at a great pace with a very interesting variety of steps, from trap-based sacrifices to puzzles and incantation rituals. Everything that happens fits perfectly, and although not the hardest Easter egg of all time, ties well to the story of the map, making the reasoning for what we're doing totally understandable. The process has complete logic layered through it, which is exactly what a zombie's main quest needs. A surefire way to anger the zombies community is to have an Easter egg with a collection of completely unrelated and unexplainable steps just to extend the solving of it and making it more difficult. I'm looking at you, Revelations. Citadel doesn't do that. It's very smart with its choices, and all of that great narrative work leads up to what could be one of the greatest Cod Zombies boss fights of all time. The quality of this epic encounter is immediately obvious after placing down the Easter egg's prize, the Guardian Key. It causes the opening sight of the map, the giant statue, to come alive and teleport you into an absolutely insane looking boss fight arena. And if there's one thing that Call of Duty Zombies fans love, it's taking on a map's final encounter in a special arena that they've not been able to access up to that point. The Guardian fight is 100% top tier. It's exactly the right level of challenging, with a clear step-by-step process to follow in order to try and take him down. His attacks are varied through each stage of the encounter, and although they can be devastating, they're not unfair. They can be learned and overcome if a player's willing to put the time in and has set up the correct loadout. This is the kind of thing that Zombies players really look for, a final fight that's very difficult but also reasonable. They want to take damage, get downed and eliminated in order to come back stronger next time, with their extra knowledge being rewarded with additional progress, and that is exactly what Citadelle Des Morts is offering them. This truly feels like the best kind of throwback to the glory days of Cod Zombies boss fights such as DE and Gorod Krovi. Regardless of people's opinions on this map, there is no doubt that this boss fight is going to be remembered for a very long time for all the right reasons. And if you manage to summon the skill to get the job done, you'll be treated to something just as incredible, a surefire banger of an ending cutscene.
Craft, we need to know, what do we do with the amulet?
Take it to the excavation site. Please don't kill him. He is my son.
He's your what?
Our final glimpse of Citadelle Des Morts gave us an incredible revelation, pun very much intended. As Kraft utters his dying words, it's revealed that he is the father of none other than Edward Richtofen. It was a huge shock to a lot of players and something many fans genuinely didn't see coming. Not only that, but the hype levels went through the roof as well with the mention of an excavation site. The community, of course, doing what it does best, jumped to all sorts of conclusions, even predicting an Origins 2, and no matter how much of a fan of the tomb you are, I think we can all agree it definitely wasn't that. But nonetheless, it left us wanting more and gave us solid hints as to where we'd be travelling to next in order to get our hands on the Sentinel artifact. It did exactly what a map's ending cutscene should do. It gave us an insane reveal, a little teaser for our next adventure, and really set things up well. Could it have been even better? Yeah, sure. We've had stronger cutscenes, but for modern day zombies, it was very good. Citadelle Des Morts was actually full to the brim with cinematics. Of course, we got the standard opening cutscene, which every top level zombie map needs in order to be considered the complete package, and an amazing outro. But let's not forget about the mid-game cutscene you could unlock if you're playing as Maya.
Why won't you just fucking die? Killing me won't bring your brother back. You know he wouldn't want this.
This isn't for Nathan. This is for me.
This was just another cool little addition that really highlights the work that was put into the map. She finally got retribution for her brother Nathan by wiping out Franco. It's not the first time we've seen this, with it also happening in Terminus and Ancient Evil doing the same thing many years ago in Black Ops 4, but it doesn't happen that often and should always be praised when it does. Just like the return of classic much-loved perks. Any old school comeback is generally celebrated in Cod Zombies, but particularly things like perks such as Vulture Aid. This hadn't been seen in a Zombies map for over 10 years and finally made a triumphant return in Citadelle Des Morts. It may be available in other BO6 experiences through the Wonder Fizz, but that's just not the same. This is the legit perk machine and it was great to see it back. The beauty is though, this new version is even better than the original, with it having nearly every useful feature available either through the base perk or through augments, essentially allowing you to customise your favourite part of Vulture Aid to fit your perfect playstyle. It was just another amazing addition to what is largely a top tier Zombies experience, but just like all good things, it sadly comes with some problems. Generally, any fresh new additions in the world of modern Cod Zombies are often received positively, what with the devs' unfortunate trope of reusing content from map to map. So you'd think that the appearance of a new mini-boss enemy would be a good thing, right? And to some extent, yes, the arrival of the Doppelgast is great, as it's always exciting to have new foes to take down. And that enemy's first appearance is genuinely awesome as it bursts out of the crate that will eventually house the Pack-a-Punch machine. It's a very unsettling enemy with its speed and disgusting look, but that's not really the problem with the Doppelgast. The issue comes from the complete overuse of this new creature in Citadel to the point where it's genuinely just annoying to see it appear every single round. It ends up being merely a total frustration as opposed to something to be feared, and that's not really the purpose of a boss enemy at all. And this gets taken to the next level with the return of a previous boss, the Amalgam. This addition feels totally unnecessary, and when you start reaching the higher rounds and you're having to deal with numerous Doppelgasts as well as multiple Amalgams, it's just not fun in the slightest, and feels like it happens solely to annoy and frustrate players as opposed to create a genuine challenge to test their skills. The smarter choice would have either been to save the Doppelgast for another map and solely have the Amalgam return here, or remove that and go with the newer, fresh enemy, because this combo strategy is just really poorly thought out. And sadly, you could probably say the same for certain aspects of the map design. Overall, there is no doubt that the structure of the map is fantastic and it has some truly brilliant areas that are tied together really well for a great gameplay experience, but it doesn't mean that even a map as good as this hasn't got its faults. The journey for players from the spawn area to the inner halls of the castle gives you the idea of choice, with two different routes leading out of the starting room. It makes fans feel like they get a decision on how they progress through the map, but it's all really just an illusion, because no matter what route they choose, one door later they end at the same point anyway, arriving at the front gate of the castle. True route choices have existed in Zombies maps before, especially things similar to Citadel like the Eisendrache, except in that instance you take two genuinely very different routes until you eventually arrive at the power room. It sadly feels like Citadel attempted to recreate the DE split route style but just gave up at the first hurdle, and that's genuinely disappointing. And it's not the only slightly underwhelming aspect of this otherwise incredible map. From the very beginning of the Citadelle Des Morts experience, it appears to players if this is a vast extensive castle with a wealth of different areas to discover. And although the Citadel itself is not necessarily small, it's nowhere near as big as fans are led to believe upon loading in, with the vast majority of what you originally see not even being accessible. A major portion of this huge building is just for show, and again feels like an illusion designed to sell players something that they're not really getting. I know this may seem like a bit of a nitpick, but when combined with the lack of genuine depth in terms of player choice that I just mentioned, it really feels like perhaps this castle is slightly more surface level than the glorious DE that we visited many years ago. Unfortunately, it's not the only aspect of this experience that doesn't reach the heights players were hoping for. There is no doubt, as mentioned earlier, that the map's elemental sword wonder weapons are top tier, but it's a shame that doesn't seem to extend to their individual incantations. Realistically, the only reason for getting hold of these is if you're looking to complete the Easter egg, as they are sadly pretty underwhelming, at least in terms of their use anyway. The process to get each one is actually pretty cool and meshes well with the already interesting steps to upgrade each individual blade, but that's where the fun ends. Because annoyingly, each incantation is pretty much a carbon copy of the others. They have no unique abilities like the swords and even replace one of your equipment slots, which is massively frustrating. Add on top of that they're honestly not even very powerful, and it just makes this a sadly pointless feature that only serves to help you continue on your quest to get to the boss fight. In the eyes of many Cod Zombies players, Citadelle Des Morts is truly one of the greats and they really see it as the full package, but is it honestly as good as people think? The simple answer is yes, this experience is genuinely top tier and will probably be remembered as incredible Cod Zombies content for many years to come. But should it be considered as one of the best ever? Perhaps in that regard it misses the mark by the smallest possible fraction. Even the issues I've spoken about in this video aren't necessarily major enough to stop Citadelle Des Morts from being considered as one of the best maps in a very long time, but it does feel like maybe they stack up high enough to stop this map from being in the same conversation as the true greats such as Origins, Eisendrache and Mob of the Dead. It truly gets nearly everything right, from the atmosphere to the wonder weapons, Easter egg and boss fight, but he's left wanting slightly when it comes to a few more minor design choices. Its failings aren't enough to hold it back from being an experience that fans will discuss for a very long time and constantly go back to play, but will we see it right at the top of good old classic Zombies tier lists? It seems unlikely. With that said though, let's be clear, as far as modern Zombies iterations go, you are very unlikely to find a map more well made and enjoyable than Citadelle Des Morts. It has pretty much everything fans look for, and for that reason it's easily one of the strongest experiences in Black Ops 6 Zombies.